Hello everybody, my name is Cyrus Janssen and I want to welcome you back to my YouTube channel, and I want to welcome you back to a very special episode here as I'm going to be giving an official response to a recent article that was published about me on this South China Morning Post. Now the author of this article is a man by the name of Ian Young. He is a foreign correspondent for the South China Morning Post based here in Vancouver, Canada, and I want to come out and clear the air about what actually happened and basically share with you my thoughts. Over the past week, I have received a tremendous amount of, concerns from my fans, from subscribers, from people all around the world saying, Cyrus, I hear you're under investigation. What is going on in Canada? Are you safe? I want to respond to these questions. I want everybody to basically understand what's really going on. This is going to be a great episode. Let's get started. Now, for those of you that don't know, this is the article. It was an exclusive article, again, published by Ian Young on October 31st, and it is entitled, The Canada Court Investigates Pro-China YouTuber's Video About Meng Wanzhou's Trial Doing Donald Trump's Dirty Work. The video by American Cyrus Janssen was shared by Global Times chief reporter and includes illicit footage shot inside the Vancouver courthouse. Now, here's the reality of this story. We live in 2020, and right now, our world is just filled with information. All good reporters, including Ian himself, have to do a good job of making sure that they create amazing headlines to get people to click on their articles. It's his job as a reporter to create these headlines and make sure that he uses amazing adjectives and words like illicit footage to make sure that people think, wow, this is really a big story. Let's click this and let's find out all about what is really going on. Now, there's a couple of things within this article that I have some issues with, and I'm going to go by it point by point and basically explain my thoughts, but let's start with this title of Pro-China YouTuber. Now, interesting enough, just 2 days before Ian's article was published, I was also featured in another South China Morning Post article. This was entitled, US-China Friction Turns into YouTube Fame and Laughs for Online Influencers. Now, inside this article, I was also labeled as a pro-China YouTuber, but sometimes this is not the best way to describe us. Let me share with you a quote from this article to give you a better perspective. One of the most well-known pro-China YouTubers is Nathan Rich from the US, who goes by the name of Hot Pot King. In an interview, Rich took issue with his pro-China label, saying that he is no less pro-USA or pro-Cambodia, but it just happens that the Western media and mindset about Cambodia is more balanced and calm than it is about China. This is a comment left on Ian's post. The title, A Pro-China YouTuber, is intended to create suspicion and cast doubt on the credibility of the YouTuber's information. It's bias intended, it's suppression of sort. Now, Ian goes on to write, his YouTube channel has 67,000 followers. It features videos such as Why This American Expat Supports China, Western Media's China Bias, and The Truth Why US Senators Support Hong Kong Protests. Now, Ian was very selective in choosing these three specific titles to describe my YouTube channel. He wants to portray me in a certain way, and he is choosing just the correct data in order to portray his side of the story. Now, Ian goes on to write, the video was shared on Twitter by Qing Chen, chief reporter for the Chinese government's Global Times newspaper. Now, why does this have any relevance to what actually happened in the courthouse? Well, there's only one reason that Ian would bring in Qing Chen from the Global Times. It's the fact that the Global Times is China's largest English-speaking newspaper website. It is obviously owned by the Communist Party of China, and Ian wants you to make that assumption that I am somehow working with the Chinese Communist Party. You see, the reality is that I was simply retweeted by Qing Chen. She shared my video, but all of a sudden, Ian wants you to make that association that now I am somehow associated with the Chinese Communist Party. But here's the thing, Ian. When you attack somebody from one of China's largest media centers, they're probably going to come back and write something about you. And that's exactly what's happened. This is a recent article that was published by the Global Times on WeChat. Ian, I'm not sure if you can read Chinese, so I'm going to go ahead and translate this for you. Do you want to harm our reporter? This foreign journalist is too sinister. Now, if you go ahead and click on this article and you read through it, you're going to be able to read all about Ian Young, his reporting style, and how he has tried to associate the Global Times with my reporting. It was actually a very distasteful thing that Ian did, and this article has been well received by Chinese netizens. You can see at the bottom that it was read over 100,000 times. So Ian, you've done a great job of raising your profile and mine in China, so I thank you for that. But let's get down to the real meat of this entire story, and that of course is this illicit footage that was filmed inside the courthouse. Now, for those of you that have not seen the video, let's go ahead and give you a shot of what this illicit footage looks like. This is a recent tweet from Ian Young, and he says, Cyrus admits he filmed inside the courthouse and says he won't do it again. Here is the scene. And yes, this is a scene that was filmed in the atrium of the courthouse. It has absolutely no relation to the actual courtroom where the hearing was being held. Now, since I published this video and learned that filming inside the courthouse was not allowed, I then went back and looked at this policy on the use of electronic devices in the courtrooms. And you can see here very clearly that a courtroom means a room in which a hearing takes place before a judicial officer. And this could include virtual or remote court proceedings where one or more participants is attending the proceedings by video or audio conference. Of course, I was not in a media center. I was not inside the courtroom. I was nowhere near anywhere where the hearing was actually held. I was in the atrium of the actual courthouse. At the time of that filming, I had no idea that you could not film there. It was simply an accident by me. But the real question is, who is the one that reported this video to the courts to have it reviewed? Well, it actually turns out that it was Ian Young himself. Take a look at this Twitter conversation when somebody asks him, were you the one that reported it to the Canada court or authorities? Which Ian replies, yes. I sent the video to the BC Superior Court spokesman and asked for his comments. He reviewed it and the next day told me it was under investigation. Now everybody, the big takeaway from today's video is that the only way that Ian Young was able to write his article was that he was the one who initiated this entire investigation. He saw an opportunity, he took my YouTube video and submitted it to the court. Put yourself in the court shoes. You have a journalist that comes, I just saw a video on YouTube with some illicit footage. Can you take a look at it? Of course, as the BC court, you're going to say, yes, we are now going to take a look at that, and now you can immediately write that I'm under an investigation. The reality is that not a single person except Ian Young himself have contacted me and told me that I am under investigation. So Ian, if this is what you have resorted to do your journalism, I feel sorry for you, man. You're actually a very talented writer. I wish you could actually just stick to the facts and report about what's going on in the case. But I get it. This is what mainstream journalism has become. And again, this is why many people are losing faith in mainstream journalism. This is why people are going to platforms like YouTube, like Patreon, like Substack, in order to connect with content creators and actually get unbiased reports and articles that they really want to read. So when you do tactics like this, it actually is better for me in the future because more than likely you're just going to drive more and more people to the platform of YouTube to create with people like myself who are not afraid to speak the truth. Now, over the last week, Ian and I have spoken on the phone, we have exchanged emails, we have even exchanged tweets, and Ian has been consistently asking me, Cyrus, is there anything untrue that I have written about in this article? If you have an issue, please send me an email or take it up with my boss at the South China Morning Post. Now, the interesting thing is I responded to Ian on Twitter. I told him, I'll share my thoughts with you tonight on YouTube. Happy Halloween. And this is where it gets very strange. Ian comes back and says, are you threatening me? Please be aware of BC's laws against defamation. I find this a yellow flag and something that made me had to do a little bit more research. You see, I said, I'm going to come back to you and give you a response on YouTube. He comes back with defamation. I wish him a happy Halloween. He comes back with defamation. This is very strange to me. The most important thing here is that I have never had any experience with defamation. I've never been involved in a lawsuit in defamation. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for Ian. This is a recent lawsuit, ironically, also in the Supreme Court of British Columbia, and you can see that this was a lawsuit of defamation against Ian Young and the South China Morning Post. In fact, if you go to the South China Morning Post website, you can see that this article by Ian Young was the subject of a defamation claim, and it was resolved by a settlement. Now, the events of this past week have taught me some very valuable lessons. The first lesson is that you must be very careful when media contacts you. You never know what somebody's true intentions are. They could be emailing you one day in a very friendly manner, while seemingly on the back end be planning to write an article that goes very much against you. But the second lesson that I learned is that sometimes it's good to have enemies. And when this happens, I often think of a famous quote from Winston Churchill. You have enemies? Good. That means you've stood up for something sometime in your life. Now, I get it. I'm a content creator. I'm not naive to think that everybody in the world is going to like what I say. I realize that there are going to be people that do not agree with me and that go against my stance. That's completely fine. Like I said, we have freedom of speech here in Canada, and I am exercising that freedom of speech here on YouTube, making this video. But what I have learned in this second valuable lesson is that I am certainly on the right track. The amount of support and feedback that I have received from the international community after this article has been tremendous. I have literally received hundreds of messages of support from everywhere from Facebook to Twitter to YouTube to Douyin. So many people have come out to support me, and I just have to really say thank you to everybody for this amazing support. And the reality is that this article has actually done a lot of positive things for me. It has really helped raise my profile. For example, in Ian's article, he says an account that appears to be associated with Janssen on Douyin, the Chinese version of TikTok, has more than 340,000 followers. Well, Ian, I'm now glad to report that I now have over 390,000 followers, all thanks to your expert reporting. So again, Ian, if you're really looking for me to make an official statement, if you really want me to come out and tell you exactly how I feel about your article, I'm going to sum it up for you in 2 words. Thank you. Now everybody, I'd like to thank you for taking time out of your day to spend it with me here on YouTube, and I want to give a special thanks to the members of our Patreon community who help this channel grow and are part of a very good community. I've really enjoyed chatting with so many of you this week as we've been dealing with this article, but again, we're going to keep moving forward with this channel. I know that I'm on the right track because I am preaching cooperation. I am preaching that when China and the United States learn to work together, the entire world is going to win, and I'm so happy to keep moving this channel forward, keep growing, and keep working on a unified world. Everybody, my name is Cyrus. Thank you for your time, and we'll see you in the next video.